Hey everyone, welcome back. You ever scroll through social media and you get that pang of not quite couple goals, like maybe happiness is somehow, I don't know, less than if you're single.
Yeah.
And when we're diving into some research that really flips that idea on its head.
Yeah.
It's a study called Happiness, Post-Materialist Values, and the Unmarried. And it kind of suggests that maybe embracing singlehood and certain values could be like a whole different path to being happy.
Totally. That's right. We're looking at a paper from 2017, published in the Journal of Happiness Studies,
Okay.
and it's based on over a decade of data from 31 countries in Europe.
Wow.
And it really pushes back against that traditional narrative that being married equals happiness.
Right.
And it explores this idea of how choosing singlehood and then also valuing things like freedom and personal growth might actually, be a way to well-being.
Okay, so more people are choosing to stay single now more than ever, right?
Sure.
There are a lot of reasons for that. But what I'm curious about is this connection to what the study calls post-materialist values, right? So basically it's like things like seeking fun, embracing freedom, always being open to new experiences.
Mhm.
Is it possible that those values are actually driving that trend and then also making people happier along the way?
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. And the study does say that on average, married people do tend to report higher levels of happiness.
Right.
But here's the twist. When they looked closer at single people, those who really valued those post-materialist ideals, they actually showed a much wider range of happiness scores.
Interesting.
Like some were way up there, like even, rivaling those married folks.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's not like a just get married and be happy kind of checklist.
No, not at all. It's way more nuanced than that. The study suggests that those values might actually boost happiness for single people in a different way than for married folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like each degree of, let's say, seeking fun or valuing freedom gives a single person a bigger happiness bump compared to someone who's married.
That's really interesting. I think the study even gave an example, right? Like if you thrive on new experiences, that alone could make you like 10% happier than someone who doesn't, assuming you're both single.
Yeah.
But why? Why would that be? Why would these values matter more for happiness if you're not married?
That's where things get really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The study offers a few possible explanations,
Okay.
and it all has to do with how these values might change the way you experience singlehood.
Okay, I'm ready. Tell me more.
Okay, so one idea is that if you're single and you really value things like freedom and personal growth, you might just, be less bothered by all those societal pressures to be in a relationship.
Right.
It's like you're creating your own definition of what a successful life looks like.
Right.
And it just doesn't have to include a partner.
Right. Yeah. That makes total sense. It's like you're tuning out all that outside noise and just focusing on what really matters to you. You're not comparing yourself to like those couple goals posts and, feeling like you're somehow falling behind.
Exactly. And that leads to the next idea, which is that, single people, and especially those who are post-materialist, might be amazing at building strong social networks outside of marriage.
Yeah.
They're not limiting themselves to just that one romantic relationship for connection and support.
Right. And that makes sense. Like if you think about it, like cities are full of all these like different people and ideas.
Yeah.
And maybe that also helps you kind of focus less on what others think too.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're constantly seeking new experiences and meeting new people, you're naturally expanding your social circle.
Yeah.
And creating this web of connections that can bring, just as much, if not more, fulfillment.
Right, yeah. So it's not just about romantic love, but it's about that broader sense of belonging and connection that we all need, whether we're single or married.
Totally. And then there's this other thought, which is, what if some people are just like single at heart?
Oh, interesting.
Like they genuinely prefer being
Yeah.
single and thrive in that independent lifestyle.
Yeah. So do you think those people might actually experience even greater benefits from embracing these values?
It's definitely possible. For someone who's single at heart, those post-materialist values might actually, amplify their happiness even further.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it really is about finding what works for you, not following some, predetermined path.
Precisely.
So,
And it reminds us that singlehood isn't some waiting room for like real happiness.
yeah.
It can be, a really fulfilling and joyful experience in and of itself,
Yeah.
especially when it's paired with these values that we've been talking about.
I'm really starting to see why this study Kind of challenges all those traditional ideas about happiness. But wait, there's a there's a twist, right?
Yeah.
Didn't the study also mention some potential downsides, like maybe those economic pressures maybe hit singles harder?
You're absolutely right. It's not all, sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
In part 2, we're going to dive into those challenges
Okay.
and explore how post-materialist values might actually help single individuals navigate them.
Okay.
It's a fascinating look at resilience and self-reliance.
Oh, okay. Now I'm even more intrigued. Can't wait to unpack all that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. So welcome back. It's pretty interesting to think about how this research challenges the idea that marriage is like some kind of shield, from life's problems.
Right. Yeah. What if facing those challenges like head on with that independent spirit actually builds a different kind of strength and happiness for singles?
Yeah, like forging your own path.
Yeah. Through the wilderness, like relying on your own instincts and skills to navigate. But let's be real. Life throws curveballs at everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when it comes to finances. Didn't the study kind of touch on how those economic pressures might affect singles who value freedom?
Yeah, they did. And it's a really good point. Think about it. If you're single and you're prioritizing your own personal freedom, you might just feel those financial anxieties more keenly, simply because you're not expecting marriage to magically solve those problems.
Right.
You're taking ownership.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's easy to kind of fall into that trap of thinking, oh, once I'm married, all my financial worries will just disappear.
Right.
But for someone who's happily single, they're not banking on a partner to be their financial safety net. They're facing those challenges head on.
Exactly. And it's interesting to note that even with those potential economic worries, those post-materialist values still seem to be linked to greater happiness for singles.
Oh.
It seems like it's not about ignoring the hard stuff,
Right.
but rather navigating it with a different mindset.
Yeah. So maybe it's less about avoiding the tough times and more about how you approach them?
Exactly.
Okay. But isn't there kind of a flip side to all this freedom?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like sometimes too many choices can be kind of overwhelming. Could all that freedom actually lead to unhappiness?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And the study actually draws a parallel to the debate around capitalism.
Okay.
We've seen instances, even kind of recently, where rapid economic development, which theoretically brings more freedom and opportunity, actually ended up decreasing happiness in some societies.
Yeah, that's a bit counterintuitive. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, it's that classic keeping up with the Joneses dilemma,
Right.
but amplified, on a societal level.
Yeah.
Increased freedom can bring more competition,
Right.
instability,
Yeah.
inequality, and that constant pressure to achieve can actually create more anxiety than contentment.
Yeah, so it's like having this giant menu, right, with 1,000 delicious options, but then feeling totally paralyzed by indecision because you can only choose one. And wouldn't that feeling be even more intense for single folks who are constantly kind of pushing their own boundaries and exploring new things?
You're totally right. There's definitely an argument to be made that single people, especially those who are really engaged with the world, always seeking new experiences, might feel that pressure even more.
Right. Yeah. It's like carrying the weight of unlimited possibilities,
Yeah.
but also the potential for unlimited disappointment. But even with all that, the study still found this connection between post-materialist values and happiness for singles. So what's the secret sauce? How do they manage to thrive in the middle of all that potential chaos?
Well, the study dives into a few possible mechanisms. And remember we talked about how unmarried individuals often face higher levels of discrimination?
Yeah.
That the societal pressure to be in a relationship?
Right, yeah. It's sad, but it's true. Even today, there's this underlying assumption that something's wrong with you if you're not coupled up.
Right.
And I imagine that can be incredibly isolating and disheartening.
Absolutely. But here's where it gets really interesting. The study suggests that singles who prioritize those post-materialist values, the ones who are really into things like freedom and new experiences, might actually be less affected by that societal judgment.
It's like they're rewriting the rules of the game. defining success on their own terms.
That's right.
They're not seeking validation from external sources like relationship status. They're finding it from within.
Exactly. And this ties back to those theories we discussed about human needs, like Maslow's hierarchy and self-determination theory. We all crave connection and belonging, but post-materialist singles might be fulfilling those needs in ways that don't fit that traditional mold.
Right. So instead of seeking validation from a romantic partner, they're finding it through strong friendships, close family ties, vibrant communities,
Yeah.
or even through the shared passions and experiences they pursue as they explore the world.
Precisely. They're creating a tapestry of relationships.
Yeah.
A network of support that goes beyond just that one-on-one romantic partnership.
Right. Yeah. It's about recognizing that there are many paths to fulfillment, many ways to create a sense of belonging, and that's incredibly empowering. You're not limited to just one source of happiness.
Exactly. And let's not forget about those urban environments we talked about earlier. The study suggests that single post-materialist individuals might be drawn to cities because they offer a sense of anonymity
Right.
and a greater concentration of like-minded people.
Yeah, it's like finding your tribe, amidst the urban sprawl. You're surrounded by people who are pushing boundaries, pursuing their passions, and living life on their own terms. It's like a haven for nonconformity.
And that brings us back to this intriguing concept of being single at heart.
Yeah.
These are individuals who genuinely prefer singlehood.
Yeah.
They're not waiting for the one. They're embracing a lifestyle that aligns with their core values.
Yeah.
And brings them, authentic happiness.
It's about recognizing that for some people, singlehood isn't a stepping stone to something better. It's the destination itself.
Exactly. And this is where the research really pushes us to rethink our assumptions about what constitutes a fulfilling life. Maybe, just maybe, for some people, singlehood isn't a compromise. It's a conscious choice that leads to genuine happiness. But what happens when you add the complexity of societal expectations and personal values?
Right.
We'll explore that in part 3.
Okay, I can't wait to see where this deep dive takes us next. So we
Sure.
talked about how post-materialist values could really, help single people kind of navigate those societal pressures and even those financial anxieties. But it feels like there's another layer here. It's one thing to be single and independent, but what about like those deeper human needs, like for connection and belonging? Can those really be fulfilled outside of a traditional romantic relationship?
You know, that's the $1,000,000 question.
Yeah.
And studies seems to suggest it's definitely possible. Remember those social networks we were talking about?
Yeah.
Singles who really embrace things like new experiences and personal growth might be even more likely to create those strong bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Through friendships, family, community involvement, all those things that kind of create a sense of belonging.
Yeah, it's like they're building a chosen family, right?
Totally.
That network of support that's just as meaningful, if not more so, than a traditional romantic relationship. It reminds me of that saying, you can choose your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's such a powerful message, especially in today's world, right?
Yeah.
Where those traditional family structures are constantly evolving.
Right.
It means happiness and fulfillment aren't, contingent on finding the one.
Yeah.
There are so many paths to connection and belonging, and those paths can be incredibly fulfilling for some people.
This whole conversation has really gotten me thinking about like the future of happiness, especially as our world keeps changing, and those old ideas about success and quote the good life are being challenged. It feels like we're at some kind of turning point,
Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something. The research suggests that as more and more people embrace those post-materialist values, we might see a growing number of individuals, both single and coupled, who find happiness and fulfillment in ways that kind of defy those conventional expectations.
It's like we're on the verge of like a happiness revolution, right?
Well,
Where people are like creating their own unique paths to joy and fulfillment.
maybe we are,
Wow.
and it's a revolution that's fueled by individuality, authenticity, and a really deep desire to live a life that truly aligns with our own values and aspirations.
So As we're wrapping up this deep dive into happiness, post-materialist values, and singlehood, what's the one key takeaway that you hope our listeners will walk away with?
I think that the most important message is that there's no right or wrong way to be happy.
Yeah.
Whether you're single, married, or somewhere in between, the key is to find what truly resonates with you,
Yeah.
and create a life that feels meaningful and joyful. It's
It's
about honoring, your own unique path,
right.
even if it looks different from what society might expect.
That's beautifully said. And for anyone listening who might be single and wondering, how to cultivate more happiness in their life, maybe just take a moment to reflect on those values that we've been discussing. How might embracing fun, freedom, creativity, and new experiences kind of enhance your well-being.
Yeah, it's definitely something to ponder. And remember, there are countless resources and communities out there to support you on your journey.
Yeah.
Whether it's exploring personal growth practices, connecting with like-minded individuals, or simply just allowing yourself to embrace the joy of being exactly who you are.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that happiness isn't a destination. It's a journey.
Mhm.
And for those who are single, those who are forging their own path with courage and authenticity, the possibilities for joy and fulfillment are truly limitless. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep creating a life that feels authentically and vibrantly yours.
Absolutely. Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.
Thanks for joining us.